to the social media program on television, The Buzz, on this lovely Monday afternoon. It's the 10th of September 2018. My name is Patience Belukafa. I welcome you to today's edition of the program. Of course, you know, on The Buzz, we look at issues trending on social media, and we'll be doing just that on the program today. Well, I hear the traffic out there is out of this world. If you live in Lagos, then you know what I'm trying to describe here. And also, I think it has affected our guests on the program this afternoon. But I'm thankful that we have one of our regulars here at the table already. He is a public relations consultant and a social commentator, Mr. Peter Osangbi. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much, Patience. Good afternoon.
How were you able to make it?
Yeah, well, I thank God, like the average Nigerian would say, but it's good. It means I will have the coffee alone.
All of it. You can have all of it. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Cheers.
All right. We are expecting Mr. Ike Mokuhu to join us on the program if he can get out of the mad traffic out there. Already, another one of our panelists, Akobunga Nikayode Balogun, had to turn back home because he's been at the same spot for over 1 hour. I mean, I don't know what to do about traffic situation.
No, it's a irresponsible driving attitude of our people. Then coupled with the fact that those who are have the responsibility to control traffic have, failed in that regard. And that's the problem. The Nigerian police has the traffic department. Initially, they were overwhelmed, and that was why during the administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he came up with this initiative of LASMA. And they've been doing an excellent job, but it appears these people have now relax really, because one of the things that most states have actually borrowed a leaf from Lagos by having their own traffic management theme. I think they must now go beyond what they are doing to ensure that traffic is easy to go by. But I think some of the challenges we are having is because of the, if you like, seeming massive reconstruction of roads going on,
like in almost every part of Lagos. Yes, so that's true.
It's affecting.
Very true. All right, we hope Mr. Ikem can join us on the program, but the show has to go on like the same. Remember, you can use the number 0802-836-8971 to contribute to the program via SMS only. And before we go into our topics of discussion this afternoon, we have to pay our last-minute respect to one of our own who passed on Saturday morning. Mr. Dixon Akinwumi is a renowned journalist, a brand analyst, a marketing and communications expert, one of our friends in the media, and he is one of the analysts on this program. He's been here like 3 or 4 times, if I recall correctly. He passed on. And that is his son, his first son. Both of them passed on Saturday morning. A very sad situation, if you ask me. Anyways, he was killed after fire gutted a shopping complex on Awolowo Way in Ikeja in the wee hours of Friday night into Saturday morning. We learned that he's supposed to take his son for an entrance examination somewhere in Ado-Ekiti. So he decided to pass the night in the office so that, it's closer to Ojota where they're supposed to go from. And unfortunately, in the course of the night, at about 2 a.m., the fire broke out at the shopping complex. The fire did not actually get to his office, which I learned is on the 3rd floor, but the smoke from the fire, killed him and his son. It's a very sad. I've not been myself since I heard it on Saturday.
It is. We can only pray for the repose of his soul and to ask that God be merciful in judgment. Sad one. Very sad one. But again, it raises the question of how we respond to issues of fire disaster in this country. The awareness is not there. We must create this seeming awareness for fire and disaster management. Schooling people on evacuation methods, how to raise alarm, the kind of fire fighting equipment you should have, in your property. For instance, looking at the kind of fire extinguisher you can have. Some are for electrical, while some are for petrol fire and all that. ordinarily that should be in every building. That's one. Then two, knowing the color codes as well. And then lastly, which for me is equally very important, is the fact that the emergency services, how we are able to communicate effectively.
Yes.
Now, hitherto, there was this legislation, which the Fire Protection Association of Nigeria had been fighting, a situation whereby it will be possible for every local government in Lagos to have a fire engine. Now, if that were to have been put in place, in fact, this came up during the Dana air crash of 2012.
2012.
Yeah, so if you had that, the challenge they had in putting out that fire wouldn't have been there. Meaning you would have had fire truck in Ikeja, in Fagba, and some other places in Agege. So if you had firefighting equipment, proper one, and then response would have been,
very faster.
And the smoke that which they inhaled wouldn't have been that much to have
taken their lives.
Anyway,
wow, it's a very sad one.
So.
My heart really breaks for the wife. There's a double tragedy for the poor woman.
Yeah.
We pray the good
at
Lord.
the moment, she requires help.
Yes, a lot of
help.
support.
Because the truth of the matter is she requires a lot of counseling because this is the most traumatic moment for anybody in her shoes. Not only that you're losing your husband, which has made you a widow, and then your own child. So you are mourning two people at the same time.
This is a lot.
So it will be traumatic.
It's really a lot. Really. In fact, I'm short of words. May God grant his family and the ones he left behind the fortitude to bear the loss.
Amen.
We'll miss you, Dixon. Oh, this is it. May your soul rest in peace.
Amen.
Wow. Okay. Back to the program for today, 0802-836-8971. That's the number to use. And our first story, federal government begs Nigerians in diaspora to return home. The federal government has appealed to Nigerians in the diaspora to return home and help build the Nigeria of everybody's dream, assuring them that things are changing in the country. Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, made the appeal at a series of town hall meetings with Nigerians in the United States. The minister said, please, we want you to return home. It is important. Not everybody will return home, but some can start coming home, and that's the essence. We're telling you that things are changing in Nigeria. This is the message. That's why I'm here. Onu appealed to the Nigerians abroad to make a patriotic decision about their country, saying, and I quote, we can't all be waiting until everything is okay in Nigeria before we can return home. Please, I beg you, let us not wait. All right, it goes on and on and on. Mr. Peter Osangbi, you and I live in Nigeria. Let's assume we're part of those in the diaspora, really. This sort of appeal, how does it sound?
Falsehood. That's the first description I can give to it. It's typical of the ruling party. I don't think that is the issue now. People returning from abroad. The issue, the challenge, and the problem that we in Nigeria are facing now is myriad. It is not it's not for to go and call people to come and return. Return back to what? It is an ideal thing to be part of the process of nation building of your country.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, but the environment we have found ourselves is not the most ideal. I was in diaspora myself. After my postgraduate in England, I decided to stay back to eke out a living. All right? And then Obasanjo came with this talk of Nigeria is getting better and all that. And we said, okay, fine, this is a new democracy. And let's give it a try. And then some of us came back. And to be honest, things were moving on, And I can remember within the first year when I came back, from the business that I was doing, I bought myself a brand new car, cash. Don't you get?
I do.
So the point I'm trying to make is that, then it was the vogue, you're returning back, to Nigeria, to be part of the whole system. But in the present circumstance we have found ourselves, it is not the best advice to give to anybody. Because people are leaving this country in drove. Why? Because of insecurity. How have you addressed that? I thought he should be telling them abroad how they have been able to address the pervasive insecurity in the country. That's number one. Number two, what are they coming back to come and do? to come and apply for a job. I didn't want to apply for any job. I wanted to be self-sustaining. I wanted to be self-employed, to go into business and succeed. And of course, during that time, you had little support from 1 or 2 banks who were ready to invest in your ideas and all that. Now, where are you going to start from here? The cost of living is very high. Just recently, somebody sent $5 as a support to somebody who is sick. No, serious. Somebody is sick. People were trying to raise money, and the fellow said, "Okay, I'll just do $5. That's all." Oh, at the airport. Oh, I wish I had money. Okay,
that's all I have.
$5. How much is $5? That's about 3,000. That's about 4,000 naira. Yes. So you can see the value. You know, the level we have fallen into. So one, the insecurity in the country has not been addressed. The economic situation in the country is not any better, and there is no conscious effort. No conscious effort to make the situation better. So the people you are asking to come back are watching. They are on social media. They have family here. So there's communication as to, but no come back. Oh, yes. Sister, no come back. Oh, the country is not better.
They hear all the complaints.
They hear, because when you come back, the moment you arrive, friends and family, you know, approach you for support or for help. Is that what you're coming back to? So clearly, you don't want to come back because the situation is still same. It has not changed.
All right, but let me ask you a question, Mr. Sangbe. Not too long ago, Ngige said something about he's surprised that President Buhari is not being applauded, you know, for all the good works he's doing. And over time, we've also heard the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, talk so glowingly about, you know, all of the achievements of this administration. Yeah. And here we have Dr. Ogbonnaya also saying that, you know, things are different, things have changed.
They are not different.
If the government of the day is doing so much like they claim to be,
why are we not seeing it?
Why are we not feeling the impact?
Yeah, because they are not doing anything. What these ministers are doing is just psychophancy. It's psychophancy, and these people are not serious. All that, you see, I told them from day one, the moment they came in, they got their strategy wrong. They were not able to move away from opposition party activism to now governance, that you are now in power. For 1-2 years, they kept regaling this country and people with, oh, if Buhari didn't take over, Nigeria would have collapsed. This previous administration did this. Previous administration didn't do that. And some of us were pissed off. Please now, campaigns are over. Move on, because
let's get the job done.
You have just 2-3 years to do anything, because the 4th year is campaign year, and that's where we are now. So rather than tell us, give us their scorecard. All right, if there was any. They are not giving us the scorecard. What they are telling us is that the country is better. No, yeah, hang on, it's better. Yeah, how? Tell us though. Has power improved? Has security, you know, improved? No. If you are traveling home, you are making plans for your security. There are so many things to be done. Recently, I saw on BBC, there were these, you know, Caucasians, particularly British. They were protesting in front of the Nigerian High Commission in London on the release of Leah
Sharibu. Yeah.
Leah Sharibu. If the country were to be so safe, and all, we shouldn't be doing that by now. So I thought they should have been telling us, on security, we were here before, now this is where we are. No, we haven't moved forward, we have rather moved backwards. So it is this is what puts me off. The deceit, the conscious effort to lie. And when you say you've done something, it should be glaring. People should see it. But in this case, we are not seeing it. So they are the ones telling people, you know, that these people have done this or these people have done it. I tell you quickly, I'm not a fan of Asiwaju Tinubu, but I respect him. I respect him. See what Lagos have been able to do from his own time to Fashola, and even this fellow that we now have. You can see conscious effort to do something. So if Lagos is what they are using, well, to some extent, well, little effort is being made here and there. But go beyond Lagos. So this is Lagos state government doing a little. But go beyond Lagos, and you see that we're in trouble. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So put simply, nothing is on ground to justify or to corroborate what the ministers are saying, that Nigeria is now better, they should, you know, come back home. There's nothing on ground they should contradict that. Let us see the evidence. Let them show us what it is, and then we can applaud them and tell our kit and cane abroad to say, please come back. Nigeria is better.
It's now better. Okay. Anyways, the Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Ogbonnaya, he was in the U.S. to sensitize Nigerians in diaspora on the presidential executive order signed by President Muhammadu Buhari in February to improve local content in public procurement with science, engineering, and technology components.
Yeah.
Anyways, the order is expected to promote the application of science, technology, and innovation towards achieving Nigeria's development goals across all sectors of our economy. And of course, according to the order, preference is to be given to Nigerian companies and firms in terms of awarding of contracts and all of that. But here we are, you know, trying to leverage on science and technology and innovation. That calls to mind the quality of education we have here in the first place. How do we begin to brag, you know, about how prepared we are to be innovative as a country when the basic, which is elementary education, first of all, is not good enough in Nigeria?
Exactly, and that's where government, unfortunately, we keep calling government, but that's the way it is, because if government shows the way, people in the private sector can actually key in. We do not have the capacity. We've been going on and on about this, you know, what's it called, these looking in words, you know, by giving contracts to people who are indigenous firms and all that. Yeah, but do they have the capacity though? What they are doing, you know, which they wouldn't tell you, is that these indigenous firms get the job and they outsource it to the foreign firms. All they just want is to be the middleman and then collect the money. They wouldn't tell. The way forward is to build capacity, and in building capacity, you must fund, you know, education. You must fund the federal universities of technology. You have the one in Akure. Find out from the Minister of Science and Technology what his ministry has done in that university to encourage them. The same thing with Federal University of Technology. So you must invest in these universities to be able to help in building capacity that will prepare us for tomorrow.
Of course. That's right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Juan from Abuja. I've read your message. Thank you for that. Thank you for the concern you've shown so far. All right. Good afternoon. Omokaro by name. Nigerians in the diaspora, they should return back home to do what? When there is no job opportunity in Nigeria. There are lots of graduates in Nigeria. There is no job. I'll advise the federal government to put things in order. Presently, no jobs in Nigeria. It's just exactly what you said. Now you're calling people to come back home. First off, let us, of course, bring to the fore the fact that Nigerians who are living abroad, would rather be here in Nigeria if our economy was just good enough, because they are taking up jobs outside of the country that, you know, even us here, we have issues with, you know what, like imagine telling me to go wash plates in a restaurant, you know, but you willingly do it abroad because you know you are paid for the job. You do, and all of that. So let's create jobs. The other day, when Theresa May, you know, called attention to the fact that Nigeria is fast becoming, you know, a country with the poorest people and all of that, we talked about providing 50,000 jobs per day for us to be able to meet up in 2035 and all. Where are the jobs?
The jobs are not there, and I have a friend who is a professor of medicine in the US, and he came to Nigeria. He was formerly with Luth. He came to Nigeria about 2 years ago, and then I went to pick him up from there, and I noticed that he was sad. I said, what is the problem? You know, thinking it is the issue of maybe people pressure or people asking him for money. He says, no, that what has worried him is that we have not changed as a people. That was a department where he was over 7 years ago before he went abroad. Nothing has changed in that place, in that department. And if you go to Lut, my younger sister was there, she died there, and when I went there, I was like, Jesus Christ, we don't have a hospital. So what if you are asking this professor of medicine to return to Nigeria, to come and do what? To return to what? So the environment has not changed. The persons have not changed. The leadership has not changed. The attitude is still the same. So what we are saying in a nutshell is that instead of this, your song of, you know, return back and all that, return to the country and all that, please now just go ahead and make the effort. There's nobody calling us from abroad to say, come and join us. A government in Switzerland or in England or France, they are not asking you to come. Why? Because you know you want to go, because you know you have a better condition out there. So by the time the circumstances change in Nigeria, you wouldn't beg them to come back. They will naturally. Like I said, in 2006, when I returned, I didn't ask. When I finished my MBA in 2001, I didn't need anybody to ask me to come back. I said, no, I wasn't going to come back. Let me stay and eke out a living. So between 2001 and 2006, I was in England. But by 2006, I knew I had to come back because I noticed that things had changed and all that. And I came back on my own volition. And people were like, oh, man, you went back? Maybe we should start planning. And a couple of us came back. Now, today, anybody you are asking to come back, you must be ready to provide for the person what to do.
That's right. All right.
And as an employer of labor,
yeah.
I know if I put out an ad there that I require a staff.
Just one.
Waiting 48 hours of putting out that ad, whether it's in the newspaper and all that. The deluge of application. In fact, you may just want to shut down your email to say, I think I've had enough. Deluge of applications, you will be overwhelmed.
I get that. All right, another message just came in. This one says, come on Ghana, yet my people don't want me to come home because I'm doing very well in Ghana than Nigeria.
Oh, dear.
All right. Okay, Alexander the Great, thank you so much for your message. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to the second topic of the day. India lifts ban on homosexuality. India's Supreme Court has decriminalized homosexuality following a unanimous verdict handed down by a 5-judge panel last week, Thursday. The court heard petitions challenging Section 377 of the Indian Constitution, a colonial-era law under which same-sex relationship is an unnatural offense punishable by a 10-year jail term. While reading out the judgment, the judge said, and I quote, any consensual sexual relationship between two consenting adults, homosexuals, heterosexuals, or lesbians cannot be said to be unconstitutional. Anyways, the verdict sparked celebrations among members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender groups across the nation. And according to some activists, the law banning homosexuality had been used to harass and intimidate people. All right, we have a footage to how people responded to this new verdict on Thursday in India. Let's take a look at the clip. We'll be back.
Way back in 2016, to be honest with you, there was very little hope. In some ways, it really does restore your faith once again that we are a democratic country where freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and human rights do matter.
I'm feeling amazing. We're going to party. I don't know. Is this so difficult to express?
Really relieved. It's a huge weight off our shoulders. It was a lot of nights we couldn't sleep, and it's finally everything's fine for all of us.
The next step really, which is the most important step, is actually fighting the social perception, because that can only be done when you have the law on your side.
So society's mind is not going to change overnight. I think this is really going to need a lot of effort from us to eradicate discrimination in other spheres. So we are going to have to do advocacy. That is something that is going to have to continue. Just sexuality education from like school level, to tell people that this is nothing different. Like we are like.
Your detergent, and with new look Ariel.
Ariel, now in a new look pack.
back. 0802-836-8971 is the number to use. And while we were watching that clip, Brendan sent this one in. Kudos to you, anchors. Return home syndrome. Very beautiful idea. My question is, what is the federal government doing on power sector? Many of us are not returning back to Nigeria to pick up paid jobs, but to be job creators. With the current state of power in Nigeria, this is unrealistic.
I agree. I agree with that.
All right, Mr. Osangbi, India. Let's talk about India and the lift of this ban on homosexuality. How did you receive this news?
I was embarrassed, disappointed, particularly because I thought India was, you know, if you like, a conservative society,
yes,
where things like that are not even, you know, encouraged.
Where you watch their movies,
yeah, they don't even they don't kiss.
Exactly.
So you can imagine, yeah, that is so. Coming from there, if it were South Africa, you say, okay, yeah, well, anything goes. You know, after all, they are a rainbow state. So and this thing is all about different shades of
the rainbow.
Now the homosexuality, lesbianism, gay, transgender, you know, sadly, is common now in Nigeria. Whether you like it or not, if you put your eyes down, you see, you give you some signs. So once you see them, they wear pink stockings, the men wear pink stockings. Yes, they wear white stockings on normal clothes. So these are ways to let you know that this is what we are and this is what we do. For me, it is morally wrong. It is, you see, every faith, whether Islam, Christianity, traditional African religion, condemns it. There's no religion that does not condemn it. So what does that tell you? That tells you that this thing is wrong. The problem we have is the Americans, and I've said it on several occasions, that they are the problem that we have in this world. If I recall that when Jonathan signed the anti-gay thing, that was one of the reasons why the Western world was against him. He was called, he was asked, and told not to sign it, and he ignored them and signed it. So his sins were many. One amongst them is the gay lesbian bill, which is signed into law. But back to this, the truth of the matter is that to even see that people are rejoicing about this in India is an indication that this thing is even in the system.
Yeah, quite endemic.
Yeah, you'll be shocked too if we have such opportunities. Yeah, those that you will be shocked to see your friends and relations who will come out from in the street rejoicing.
I get what you mean.
So sadly, it is going even among people of different faiths. You know, and I've always said that anything you do and hide, you don't want anybody to know that you're doing it, is actually wrong. That's my view.
Okay, now let me call to mind, you know, what one of the things said by the judge, Dipri Misra, who gave judgment in this particular case.
Right.
He said, and I quote, "Social morality cannot be used to violate the fundamental rights of even a single individual. Constitutional morality cannot be martyred at the altar of social morality." Now, let's remove our morals and look at the fundamental human rights of every individual in this sense. Someone's sexual orientation, should it be used as a basis to judge whether or not that person is acceptable or not to the society?
The truth of the matter is that there are certain standards which we have set for ourselves. I'll give you an example. Even though there are no relationship, we shouldn't be using that to compare. I was telling one European friend of mine about, you know, polygamy. He was shocked that somebody, you know, could marry up to 4 wives. I said, yes. The traditional African listing permits you to marry as many wives as you can. So, no, that's wrong. Okay, that's wrong. So how come that one that is not even half as bad as, you know, gay, lesbian, transgender, this thing, you now feel that this person has a right, you call it fundamental right, to do whatever the person, your sexual orientation. I have no problem, but don't come and rub it in. I don't want my kids to be involved in that. I owe them a responsibility to direct them aright. And this responsibility I must discharge as a parent. If they grow up, God forbid, they decide to stray another, I know that I would have done my own. So this is not an issue of right. It's an issue of morality, not fundamental right. It's an issue of morality, choosing right from wrong. It is wrong for a man to be sleeping with a man. It is wrong for a woman to be sleeping with a woman. Like I have said earlier, that all faiths, whether Islam, whether Christianity, whether Hinduism, condemns lesbianism and gay. Simple as that.
Okay. All right. Well, let me just remind us that the ban that was recently lifted in India is 157 years old. I mean,
it's colonial.
Yes, it's a colonial era law. It's been in their law for as long as, I want to guess, India has been, you know. So for it to be lifted, just in case you don't understand it, it is a big deal. It is a very, very big deal, you know. It just means that change has happened in India. The kind of change
is a terrible change.
I didn't want to use the word terrible. All right, this one says, for me, India just scored a big low on morality by legalizing same-sex relationship. It must not be allowed in our society. In fact, it is definitely un-African. Okay. All right, this other one. Okay, people are still talking about the federal government begging Nigerians to come back home.
Just to mention that.
All right, Omokaro from Edo State, Benin in Edo State, says, once again, homosexual is very bad, and I will advise Nigeria should not involve in such act. Is road to destruction. Please, the end time is coming. This is a symbol. Take notes, Nigeria. God bless. Of course, we always have a way of tying everything with religion and all of that. Anyways, the LGBTQ, there's a Q now. That's the queer.
Oh, yeah. Queer people.
The queer people. The LGBT community in India, we hear they are just ecstatic, you know, with this recent development. They are everywhere jubilating. But of course, work still has to be done, like that report said, on social acceptance. It's one thing for you to pass a law. It's another thing for people to actually open their minds, you know.
No, there's the mind will not be opened on this. Yeah, the mind will be closed. How will you feel? Like I was telling my friend, I said, how would you feel that somebody, your daughter says, oh, that I'm expecting my suitor, somebody I want to marry. And lo and behold,
it's the same,
you know, your joy would have been ruined. You see, is a moral decadence is an indication that not from the perspective of end time is near, but from the perspective that society must rise up to this kind of change. This is not the kind of change we want. Okay. It's a negative change.
Okay. Thank you, IK from Ogun State, for that you sent in. All right, this other one says from Lai Obi, this is absurd. Homosexual legality is not humane and it's ungodly. I advocate rehabilitation centers for this set before it becomes normalized in all society. You know, now that every country is standing up and sort of, you know, taking the whole thing and all of that, I do fear for Nigeria.
No, I don't know.
Seeing as seeing as how our young people, you know, you said something like whether we like it or not, they are being inducted into this very, very unacceptable way of living, if I have to use that word. I mean, if you've been looking at the news, you will see incidences of police raiding hotels and, you know, making arrest upon arrest of, you know, homosexuals who are gathering. So it just points to the fact that we have more of them now in our society.
Right.
So what more do you think us as Nigerians should do to safeguard what's left of our moral values?
No, it's to continue to guard that which we stand for. We stand for love for one another. We stand for truth. We stand for upholding our tradition and our culture. And our tradition and our culture abhors what we are seeing now, which is gay and lesbian activities. So we must resist it. And by resisting it, you must begin to educate your children on the immorality of this and why this cannot be a way of life. We all have a role to play here. It's not government. Government have done their own. But you and I have a role to play back in our homes. And then, like I've said, development, you know, science is is a good. But some of these things have come to ruin our very own existence, as it were. If you see what they watch, what they show on telly, some of these, you limit them. In fact, for the cartoons, my wife, before the kids watch any cartoon, she goes through them to look at their history and all that, to see if there's any inclination towards because they start orientating them at that little age, and then they will not because the questions
begin to see it as normal.
Yeah, the questions my 9-year-old boy asked me, and I'm like, hang on, okay, yeah, he's getting this from this. So if they were terrible things, he could have gotten them from the cartoons.
Yeah, in fact, there's a particular cartoon channel on DSTV I do not allow my children watch. Because, I know that, they air some programs where you have families where you have a mother situation, a father, so I just, no, don't do that. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. All right, more messages are coming in. This one says, homosexuality was one of the reasons God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. This one also says morally is wrong, and moreover it's a terrible wickedness in the sight of God. Uncle Ben sends that one in. All right, let's move on to our last topic.
And lastly on that, we must queue behind some faith organizations who are opposed to this. The Catholic Church, of which some of us belong, have taken a position on this. So we must queue behind them to ensure that society does not deviate to begin to do that which is very immoral and unacceptable, particularly to our society.
All right. Obinna says homosexuality is not polite and is a sin before our Creator. And also, people are still reacting to the first story on federal government appealing to Nigerians in the diaspora to return home.
That one touches people a lot.
Yeah, touches people a lot. All right. Begging one to come to you is a result of one's failure. Put things in order and people will even beg you to allow them to come. Let government live up to its responsibilities. Okay, Omokaro from Edo State says, Nigeria in diaspora. Nigerians in diaspora, they should return back home to do what? When there is no job opportunity in Nigeria, there are lots of graduates in Nigeria. Okay, I think I read this one before. And there is no job. All right, Omokaro, I read that one before. This other one says, I was at the government house in Benin City, Edo State, and the place was so unkept. And I was like, if the seat of power, where the governor sees every day, could be this unkept, how would the governor fix other parts of the state? I discovered the governor and deputy don't live there. They rather fix their private residence. Okay, all right. A lot are still coming in. This one says, may God help us through this homosexuality. This other one's, homosexuality is not a good thing and should not be practiced in Nigeria, please. A blessed country should not allow such at all. Dear presenter, our culture does not support it. Kenny from Ondo State. Yeah. All right, moving on to the last topic of the day. Is China slowly recolonizing Africa? Is a question we're asking. Anyways, China to take over Zambian International Airport for debt repayment default. Some schools of thought think China might be recolonizing Africa by appealing to the ignorance and selfish interests of our leaders. Today, the Chinese are offering mouth-watering deals to Africa, both in cash transactions and, of course, the rather defunct trade by barter system, which seem very attractive on the outlook, but dangerous in reality. We hear that China is now proposing to take over the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport should the Zambian government fail to pay back its huge foreign debt on time. And Zambia is not alone in this. We have about 7 African countries, who are currently in the bad books with China. Sri Lanka, we hear, officially handed over a strategic Habantota port to China on a 99-year lease last year after it failed to repay a debt of $8 billion to a China firm. Zimbabwe also is in this, Djibouti is in this, Angola, Namibia, Zambia, and of course the worst of them all is Kenya. You know, and I see Nigeria towing that line.
Yes.
If you ask
Yes.
Mr. Osangbi.
Yes, basically what has happened is that you see, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. That is why some of us are saying, before you take some of these loans, you know, sit back and look at the, you know, the tiny details,
fine print, yeah,
that you see there. It has certain conditions. There's nobody that wants to, no bank, no country, no individual they are going to take a loan from, not Dash, that will want the best for you, as it were, the best condition, because they want to make profit.
Of course.
So I have never known the Chinese to be Santa Claus. I have never known them to be this generous. So when did this generosity begin? And our people have rushed there, the African countries, and then Nigeria is now their last, because Nigeria obviously has more money than most African countries and more resources. But, excuse me, what we must do is to learn from the examples of these people. The president and his team recently went to China. We want to know the details of the things that have been signed. Some of us want to know the trains, the railway tracks that are being built. What are the conditions? Is it build and operate? Or you lease out again the way the Zambians have done, so that after a couple of years you default, because we do not have a history of actually paying our debt. That's why some of us were, when it was being debated in Senate, some of us were a little bit, you know, hesitant to give any support to it, because we do not have a good history of paying back. We have always defaulted. It was when Obasanjo came that we now had to pay so much that we were owing our foreign creditors, and then coupled with the loans which they wrote off for us and all that. And now we're back again. Now my worry, this has been trending on social media, that the Abacha loot, which has been recovered, about $222 million, which you recovered. You know, you say you were going to give it to the poor, and then you have rushed.
200 or 300?
Sorry, 300.
320.
And then you have now run to China
to
go and get a loan of 228. So I have there's so much contradiction, and this is a government that will know their history about lying. So some of us are concerned about, you know, what the reality is.
Really.
You know, before Mr. President hands over by next year, we hope that some of the details of these, you know, things that they're going to do in China will be in public glare, so that we'll be able to know what we are signing our future into.
Wow, I mean, this is a huge one. We hear that Ghana too is slowly, you know, falling into that debt trap.
You know, when you see free thing, you see free thing, immediately you rush it. You do not know the other details.
Imagine a country. Imagine a country not having control of its own country for 99 years. You know what that means?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, so the Chinese will just do as they
all that glitters is not gold.
All right, in Zimbabwe, the Chinese companies offer strict terms for Zimbabwe to secure loans 4 years after it defaulted in paying in 1999 under President Mugabe. You know, and they are still battling that and looking for a way out of that. In Angola, in 2000, they took loans from China totaling about $21.2 billion. Now, the loan currently is estimated to be around a quarter of cumulative Chinese loans to those of the rest. I'm looking for that country where even the Chinese have a stake in their media. There's one African country. So what that means is even the Chinese dictates, you know, what goes on air.
It's a new form of colonialism.
It's a form of slavery.
Yes, what we must do, and which is what any serious government must do, is to see what you can get, you know, from them that will benefit you. China is the future of tomorrow, no doubt about that. So what are we going to have to show for it? What I expect government to do is to ensure that people start teaching Chinese in our schools. Let's don't make the mistake that we made before, where Nigeria is surrounded by francophone countries, whereas you and I can't speak French. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, since most of our businessmen now go to China, most of our Igbo traders now go to China, is it not high time that we started introducing Chinese education, Chinese language in our institutions, so that we will not be caught napping? Now you bring some of their products, the what is it called, the guidelines for whether it's installation, the manual. They are in Chinese.
Most times you can't read what's even
you
if
can't.
it's written in
and
English.
then if you now say you want to Google it and all that, you spend 1 year getting results. So, and meanwhile, the Chinese do not want to pay interpreters easily to now, decode and put for you and all that. So we must begin to prepare for tomorrow. Whether we like it or not, China has infiltrated Africa. And whether it is for good or for bad, I don't know. Yeah. But at the moment, they have infiltrated Africa. At the moment, Nigeria is not prepared. So that's why some of us are raising the alarm.
And of course, you know that the relationship with the US is not as smooth as it used to be. So they're looking for new markets, new allies, everywhere. So they're ready to give to Africa what Africa is asking.
Yeah.
But our leaders, like the write-up says, because of greed, because of ignorance in most parts, they don't even know what the whole thing is about. They go on and take these loans, and before you know it, your country is in a deep mess.
You're mortgaged.
Your country is you don't have control over a lot. Imagine Zambia, I think, is the worst hit at the moment. As we speak, Chinese state-controlled firms have taken over most of Zambia's strategic assets. From their airport to their East Park Mall to their toll gate plazas, to their everything is basically controlled, by the Chinese. Imagine.
Because those were the agreements. Those were the agreements you signed when you were trying to get these loans and all that. And to think that what these Chinese are using to, entice you and I, is this trade by barter. Trade by barter is...
The days of my forefathers.
Even when Buhari used it in 1982, it was the modern day. No.
Okay. All right, let's take more feedbacks before we call it a day on the show. Obviously, this is a sign of the end time, and the government that lifted such ban is an agent of Antichrist, because ordinarily, a normal person would not think of going into such act. This other one says government's handling of the federal staff school/court injunction is sending the wrong signals to the world. All right, this person that ended your message with a vex. Of course, you don't expect me to read this on air. Thank you, though. Anyways, homosexuality or LGBT or rainbow. My take on this vice called LGBT. Please do not be deceived. The dance with such vice is one of those we must belong to the developed economy thing. Unfortunately, a nation or people who are not satisfied within are bound to be entangled in such moral dysfunctionalities. I personally do not wish that Nigeria should go in that direction. It sets a nation backwards and desecrates her moral integrity. God bless both of you. Brendan sent that in. Thank you, everyone. The contributions today were really apt. Thank you indeed for being a part of it. We're appealing to the Nigerian government. Yes, we want our brothers and our sisters in the diaspora to come back home.
Yeah, they must come back to something.
Right. They shouldn't come back and regret. It would be double wahala.
They should come back to something.
Come back to something. All right, thank you so very much, Mr. Peter Osangbe.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you did it. Thank you for coming. All right, tomorrow at noon we'll be back, and hopefully the roads will be clear and we'll have a full set tomorrow. But thank you for being a part of it. Hope you enjoyed the show. Join us at noon tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.